And then on the bottom over here, we're going to create a singleton call paragraph. Just a P. And then after that, we're going to put, actually, yeah, you can have it like that. And then the new end about that. Okay, so we're going to have the end with this break, and then we're going to have the new end with the paragraph. Okay, so that's the only difference that I see on page 10. So let's see what the difference is. Okay, this was the break. And it looks like we have two breaks in there. Yeah, we have two breaks in there, one in here and the other one in there. So let me take this one out, because they look exactly the same and they're not supposed to be. So you have one break and you have a paragraph, okay? And this one, we take this one out too. And now for sure, we have one break and one paragraph. So notice that a break gives you one line only. A paragraph actually gives you two lines. Okay, so that's the only difference. And you can simulate the paragraph by putting two breaks. So whatever works for you. If you want to do a lot of typing and put two breaks as opposed to one P, that's fine. Any questions so far? Man, everybody's going to get an A here. Okay, so he's got something here on an anchor tag on page number 12. This is really interesting. Hello, guy. Go away. Okay, so we continue with the same thing over here. And there's something called an anchor that begins with an A. And you're going to be using that a lot. Yeah. And that one is href, okay, equals, and then this one says hidden URL of a file, okay?
Professor,
yes.
Is that still part of the body?
I'm sorry?
Is that still part of the body?
It's still part of the body, right? Okay. So everything has to be inside the body, okay? Anything that you want to be processed has to be part of the body. So you have the first thing is the HTML lines, then you have the heading, then you have the body. And inside the body you have whatever you need, tables, whatever. All right, so this one he has something called hidden URL. What else? Of a file, right? Of a file. I don't know what is it that he's trying to do here, but let's find out. And then he's closing that guy there. And then after that, he's got visible text. Okay.
That's Visual View.
Right, but maybe if I bring this down here, it'll be a lot easier. See what we're doing. And then we need to close that guy, right? Okay, so I wonder what that does. Let's find out. Ready? It gives you this guy, visible text. It actually changes the colors, it moves the underline. And obviously when we click over here, it says, hello, we don't have that website. So we try to go to a place called hidden URL, it doesn't exist. Okay? So now let's put a real one in there. So what do we want? How about HTTP, this guy, and then about www. What is it, Facebook?
You have 3 T's.
3 T's?
Yeah.
Right. That will definitely give me an error, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's leave it like that. No, without, I took the T out. So if you put a proper IP address link, that will actually bring you over to that place. Okay. So simple, right? Okay. Okay, so that was what, page 12 already? Jesus, time to go home. Okay, so the next thing that some people have difficulty with is the following. This one I'm going to use the black one. And the explanation in the book is not that clear. So let's assume that you are on your USB and you have the USB, let's say 5H, right? And you decided to have your websites in a folder called web. Let's assume that, right? So, and the website is called, I don't know, page 1 or page 8, right? Then on the same place over here, you have another place over here, and then here on the root, you have other pages, like page 15, right? And actually, we can actually make this a little bit more interesting here. Pages, and then let's call this page 8. Right? So this is the same place, the same CD, the same USB, whatever, but these guys are different folders. Okay? So when he's talking about relative directories, what he means by that is the following. So let's assume that you're here, and we had an anchor there, which was the A, and then it was what? H1? Right. And then you wanted to load this page 15. But this software is sitting right here. Right? And now you want to load this guy up. So the way you do it is you say, okay, I need to go one directory back, and then another directory back. So the way you do it is you put 2 dots means one directory. So now you're sitting here. And then if you want to go back to this one, you put another 2 dots and that is slash, okay? And then you call this guy here, page 15. And then you close it. Okay, so this is what is called relative. Relative to what? Relative to the location where you're sitting at. Okay? And why is this important? On my web page, I don't know if you remember that I show you, there's a folder that says includes. And this includes is all the way in the root. So on the includes, what I do have is some web pages, one are called headers, headers. And some other ones that are called footers. And I have multiple types of footers, and then another one I think is called titles, right? So what happens is that I don't want to have to write this over and over and over and over. I want to write it once, and I want all of the pages to look exactly the same way. So that when the user goes in there, no matter where they go, they're looking at the same format. And also, if I need to change the format, all I do is change it in one place. So this is exactly like the methods in Java, functions, exactly the same idea, except that instead of being inside the program, you're dealing with directories. Okay? So this is the relative to wherever you're at. Okay. Is that clear? No problem. So that was page 55, right? He goes, man, I must have dozed off. Okay. Yeah, that's on page 12, and it goes all the way down to the end of that. And yeah, it deals with subdirectory of and references of, things like that. Okay. and that's all it is. So you can actually, let's assume that you have, you get a little bit more complicated, right? So let's assume that you go back, and then you go into this guy here, and now this guy over here has some subdirectories. Then it gets more complicated, but this is the easy part. Okay? So when you get to stuff like that, then you better change the way you have your layout. Make it easy. It's like probably make all of this stuff on the, I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so that takes us to page 13. So it's absolute relative from the document root and relative from the current directory. That's what, those are the three types of references that he has that, and that's on page 13. I call them page locations, because that's what it is, where the page is at. He gave you some examples of what we just talked about, and that brings us to page 14. All right. Any questions? Not at all, right? So now we go into the nicer stuff. Now it begins the interesting stuff. We go over to page, believe it or not, 15. We're gonna finish the semester before you know. So we'll continue building up on this. We're still inside the body, okay? And then he's got something called a form. Okay? So from this point on, we're gonna be working with forms. So it begins like this. This will be a simple one. And you have an ending to that too. Okay? So this is the simple one. The first baby step on that. So basically over here, he has something called hobby. And if you would run this guy here, guess what happens there? It's just gonna print the word happy. Even though we had a whole bunch of spaces in the back, it only gives you one space there. Okay, so now we continue with the hobby. Okay, so ready for this? This is the interesting stuff. There's something here called input. An input is the way that you allow the user to communicate with the web page. Okay. When you go into a web page and they ask you for the username and the password, this is exactly how you do it. So the input has three parts to it. The first one is called type. So that would be, what is the type of the input? So let's follow exactly his book. And in this case, the first in this case is called text. Okay, you got a space now. Oh, I did something wrong here. Text, one guy there, now you got a space. Okay. The second part to that is the name. So in his case, he's got something called name. No, actually he called it hobby, sorry. Okay, and the last one is what?
Value.
Value, okay? And this one, he has it over here as nothing. And then you close it. Okay, so all of the inputs have three parts: the text, the type, the name, and the value. So let's run it and see what happens. You just drew this little nice box there. So now you can type text in there, any kind of text that you want in there. Interesting, right?
Very.
Do you add attributes to change the size of the box?
Little by little. Okay, so now the next line, he's got another one called the same way. There's no name after that, but let's follow the indentation here, and also we call it input. Gotta spell it right. The type on this here, and instead of being text, is going to be equal to submit. So So what kind of type is submit? You know how you get a web page and you fill in the blanks and then at the end it says says submit? So submit actually what it does is whatever you type on all of the different blocks that you had there prior to the submit, it takes all of that data and the submit type takes the data and send it out to wherever you tell it to go. Okay? And that will be controlled by the form heading, and we'll go into that in a little bit.